Hey, Tim Sykes here with a cool little video lesson today. This stock DRNG has been on my watch list for several days because it fits my patterns. It's a classic pump. It was bound to crash. Today is the crash. And it offered a good dip buying situation, even though it's down 50% on the day. If you're prepared ahead of time, well, guess what? You could have made money. And I was prepared. I tried to prepare you. If you're reading my watch list, if you're reading my chat room commentary, you understand this pattern. If you've seen past video lessons, here's one right here. This is video lesson 4210. I have over 4,000 video lessons, and this one is a nice one. Same kind of morning panic on a kind of pump CNAB, and then also here 4677 to 4683. The reason why they're labeled like this is in 5-minute increments. So even though 4,000 video lessons sounds like a lot, it's just 5-minute increments. It's roughly, I think about what? Let's do some math. I have like 4,900 video lessons now. So 400 hours of education. And these are the patterns that I trade. First, let me show you my trades today. Where were they? Made roughly $1,000 on DRNG and CAMT. Small trades, very conservative trades, but also both very prepared and planned ahead. That's the key to my success. You know, just focusing on the same patterns and planning ahead of time. And for those of you guys learning, well, I want to teach you to plan ahead, and I want to teach you the best patterns that work. More times than not. You know, again, there's no magic formula for getting rich. There's no magic system like, oh, I guarantee this stock will 100% of the time work. No, you know, my best patterns work 60, 70, 80% of the time. It is possible to get up there. It's just not 100% or even 95 or 90% like some of you people want. That's not realistic. I've been doing this for nearly 20 years, so I know what works and what doesn't. Let me start with DRNG. So this one, and by the end of this video lesson, if you understand the lesson, please leave a comment underneath this video saying, I understand. I just want you to have 2 words, and I want to see who really gets it, because I want you getting in the habit of not just looking for hot picks or following anybody else's alerts, which you should never do, but becoming self-sufficient and seeing what patterns work best for you. Anyways, here is DRNG, the big crash. Let me show you my watch list. Let me close these video lessons. Sorry, too many tabs. This was my watch list heading into today, and I always try to send this out the night before just to prepare you guys. And DRNG, I said, is a blatant pump. It's in the run-up stage, so hopefully promoters stay sober and pump it up as much as possible, since it'll inevitably crash and burn just like ZPAS. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that pot shot at the promoters. Maybe they took a look at their lives and, you know, went on a little bender last night, and that's why this stock is crashing. But if you see previous watch lists, you know, every single day I have stocks to watch. So I'm basically like stalking these stocks for several hours or several days, because I'm waiting for it to come into my wheelhouse. I'm waiting for it to fit the patterns that I like to trade. I don't need to trade every day, but if a stock fits the patterns that I know works, that's when I act. So this was 2 days ago. I said DRNG is the latest to have a pump-looking chart, same as recent pumps like ZPAS. So watch it closely for a big panic drop buy if and when it crashes. But the longer it goes up, the harder it falls, the better the dip buying opportunity. So it's just a waiting game for me. This was 2 days ago, okay? So this is why I love teaching, because people are freaked out. They're like, how did you know it was going to crash? Because it's the same fucking pattern every time. I don't know the exact day that it's going to crash. I don't know if it's going to crash 30, 40, 50, 60%, but I do know that it is a waiting game. And all these penny stock neophytes who are buying here, 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 thinking like, oh, this is a safe stock. It's going up 5 cents every day. And then it drops 50% in a day. And this is why people hate penny stocks, because they're like, what? There's no news. This stock just crashed out of the blue. Well, if you actually studied the past, it wasn't so out of the blue. And actually, if you look at the news that matters for these stocks, there was news. If you go to otcmarkets.com and you look at it, look at this skull and crossbones. It says buyer beware. So it just got this skull and crossbones today. This, caveat emptor, like buyer beware. This is the worst thing that a company can get, because basically the regulators and, the exchange OTC markets are saying, this stock, pretty dangerous stuff. Why would you put your money into a company with a skull and crossbones? This isn't like Friendly Pirates. This isn't Pirates of the Caribbean. This is literally could be the worst company in the entire stock market. And this is the stock that I bought today. And this is why, again, there's just so much misinformation and so much misunderstanding. People are like, Tim, you're a scam. You're buying these junky stocks. It's terrible. I'm buying these junky stocks only when they fit my patterns. And if you look at my chat room, so this is my watch list where I send every single night, the previous night. But then in my chat room, I'm also giving real-time commentary. This is why you guys should all be in my chat room, because I can get this out in real time. Pre-market, I'm looking at a few plays, MNGA, ABIL, NURO. None of them were really good spikers. PULM got a contract winner, but the volume was too low. And I specifically said Neuro I wouldn't buy. I bought it a few months ago, ran into a brick wall of sellers. Happened again today. Same kind of pattern. Congrats to shorts there. I congratulated myself 12 minutes later by saying straight down, glad I warned earlier. And then I'm looking at CAMT. I'll talk about CAMT in a second, but that's not as important as DRNG. Here's where I first talk about DRNG at 10:25 a.m. this morning. I said, the drop is too gradual. It's not a big panic like I like, so no dip buy there for me yet. Okay? That was the key here. Because when I was posting that was at, what was it, 10:25 in the morning. So the market had been open for like, an hour, basically. Normally I like morning panics like all in the first, 10, 15, 30 minutes. So we got the panic from 120 down to 85, and it did bounce to 1. At 10:25, it was like right here. And some people were, telling me to dip buy it here at 70 cents. And I was like, this is a nice crash, but still it's kind of gradual. If you look back at previous patterns, this is not a big enough drop. So I didn't buy it here at 70 or even at 65. But when it got down here to 50, I dip bought. And this was where, the good bounce happened from 50 really to the peak of 70. Even now it's down to 55. It doesn't matter. If you catch the bottom on these things, it's pretty cool. How did I catch the bottom? Well, I knew that this drop was too gradual. And there was also a ton of buyers on the level 2 at 50 cents. You should be using level 2, okay? I have a whole DVD called Learn Level 2, and right now it's 55 by 59. But you can see there's a lot of buyers here at 51 cents. There was even more earlier. So 50 cents a share was support. That's why I was buying it at 51. It had already crashed 60%. Yes, it got the skull and crossbones, but there was big support just below my buy. I took a very small position of just a few $1,000s. I could buy 1 million shares of this thing if I wanted to. I don't want to buy 1 million shares. The beautiful thing about this strategy, it is good for small accounts. Okay, you buy 5,000 shares at 51 cents, it's like 2,500 bucks. You buy 10,000 shares, it's like 5,000 bucks. And if you time it well, from 50 up to 70, or even now, let's say you hold it for, an hour or two, and now it's at 50, 55, and now there's some bidders at 57. So if you're buying it at 51, you're either making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 cents a share, depending on when you sell. But the bounce was there. Now, this is not a stock that I would hold overnight. I don't want to hold this stock any longer than I have to. But the dip buy usually bounces. Hold on, let me pull up those charts again. You have to learn from the past, or you don't have to, but you should. So this is my previous dip buy on CNAB. You can see here, this is what I mean by, outright panic. Every single red bar here is 1 minute, and it just goes straight down from 260 down to 160. And this is all before 10 a.m. on that one. There were big buyers here at 150-ish. I actually caught the bottom right here. I think I was in at like 153. And it bounced all the way up to 220 over the next hour. Look at this. This is a 50% bounce inside of an hour. Okay, most mutual funds, most hedge funds don't get 50% returns inside of 2 or even 3 or 4 years. This is happening inside of an hour. This is why it's laughable that there's so much hate with penny stocks and so much love and so much affection for hedge funds and mutual funds. These are the ideal patterns that you should be trading when you have a small account. The problem is that Wall Street says, oh, these junky companies, skull and crossbones, you should stay away. That's fine. I'm not going to change Wall Street's opinion anytime soon, but I can get to more people with small accounts and help you understand the patterns that work. Here was my trade on it. I made a little under $1,000, a little over 20%. In at 51.5, out in the 60s. I didn't time it perfectly, but I did pretty well. And now it's at 57.58. There's no way to lose money if you catch the bottom on this one. Now, obviously, it's a very slippery slope. If it started to chip away at the buyers here at 52, 51, or there wasn't buyers at 52 when I was buying, but there was a ton of buyers at 51 and 0.505 and 0.50. If those got started to chip away, then maybe, it was a false bottom. I would have gotten out and I would have lost, maybe 2 or 3 cents a share. But when I might risk losing 2 or 3 cents a share and I might make, what was the high here? It got up to like 69. So there was 18 cents a share of upside from my dip buy and literally no downside. But if I had been wrong, which could happen, I would have lost 2 or 3 cents a share. I would have cut losses quickly because I follow my rules. And the risk reward was very good. It's very important to understand where there are big buyers and big sellers. CAMT was my other one. And by the way, on that commentary, I said DRNG dropped to gradual, not a big panic. Then I said, at 1028, DRNG has a skull and crossbones. Same negative news. Always scary buying these absolute worst companies, LOL. Some people say that I'm like irresponsible for buying such crappy companies. I understand that these are crappy companies. I understand that I'm buying the worst, and I want you to understand that too. But I still recognize the patterns that work. I'm not biased against a crappy company versus a good company. All I'm looking for is volatility and the proper pattern. Here at 1032, I'm still watching it. I'm stalking it. Now the spread is 63/70. So even if you're trying to buy it at 70 cents, if you can sell it the same minute or the same second, you lose 10%. That's terrible. So then it was a new day low at 1034, and then at 1052, it's bouncing off the lows. So by waiting and avoiding the 60s and 70s trap that a lot of people thought, I bought in at the exact proper time because there was big buyers at 0.50. Wait for the big buyers. Look for those on a chart on a stock that's crashing. Don't think like, oh, the stock has to bounce when it's down 30 or 40 or 50% on the day. I've seen some of these pumps drop 90% on the day, and there is no bounce. So it's not always a guaranteed bounce, but by waiting for the panic, by waiting for it to come to a support zone where there are big buyers, a very big number, like people like big numbers, they buy it at like $1 a share or 50 cents a share rather than like 53. That is where you can start to find the bottoms here. No different than this one on CNAB where it had big buyers at $1.50 and then it spiked 50%. And there were other examples too. CATQ, this one bounced actually at 130 and I caught the bottom there. And I was selling into this chop in the 150s and it went all the way up to 215. So if you're buying it at 130 and you're selling it at 215 inside of an hour and a half, I mean, this is nearly 100% on your money. So these stocks can bounce, even though they are literally the worst companies in the world. And I see too many people on social media, like these little short seller trolls, like never buy these bad companies. You're a scam artist if you ever buy these companies. No, I'm just dip buying and I'm just taking advantage of the volatility. It's not a scam. It happens again and again. I'm not saying that DRNG is a good company. I would not hold DRNG overnight. It was simply a morning dip buy. CAMT is something I would hold overnight because this one was spiking for several days. It was arguably the strongest earnings winner of the past few weeks, but it's been dropping every single day. Look at this. Morning panic, morning panic, morning panic, morning panic. Today, the differentiator was that it did not have a morning panic. It looks to have found support in here in the 520s, 530s. And unlike the previous 4 days, it actually had a morning spike. So I bought it. That said, it hasn't really bounced that much. I missed this first big spike, so I was buying it in here in the 550s as it had already moved. And I wanted it to go, as high as possible, but there was a wall of sellers. Again, this is level 2 on this chart, on this stock. Right now it's 546 by 549. But long story short, there was a wall of sellers on the ask here at 565, okay? There was a wall of sellers at 560, and it was cool that it broke that, but then there was another wall of sellers at 565, so it couldn't break that. So for me, I bought this, what was my average? Like 550-ish, a little over 550-ish. This one is basically a scratch for me. I'm buying it in the 550s, and I'm selling it in the low 560s. It's just not a big mover for me. And yet, I bring it up because there was a wall of sellers at 565. And I think I even said it in the chat room. Let me close this watch list. CAMT happened before. Where was it? So I said, I like CAMT. Can it get back to the 560s? 560 is the key level to watch. And then, a few minutes later, it broke it. But then I said, wall of sellers on CAMT at 565. Damn. So sometimes, you're going to break through a wall of buyers or a wall of sellers. And then there's another wall just behind it. And it kind of takes, the momentum out of the stock if it's spiking. Because you're like, well, we just broke through this big wall. And then, you figure out, wait a minute, there's another wall right behind it. So that happens sometimes. Please watch my Learn Level 2 DVD. You'll understand walls of buyers and walls of sellers better. But long story short, on CAMT, I was aiming for a morning spike. Didn't get the big morning spike. It did break above 560, but then it double topped at 565. This is a potential rebuy for me, but I'm in no rush to rebuy a stock that has, 2 walls of resistance at 560 and 565. Like, if I'm in a stock, I want it to spike, as much as possible. If it's having trouble even going up 5 cents a share, it's just not worth my time. If I was still holding right now, I'd be down like 5 cents. As it turned out, I made like 5 cents, plus or minus 5 cents a share on a $5 stock. It's a scratch. But the reason why I made money instead of losing money is because I recognized the wall of sellers on the ask. DRNG, the reason that I made money instead of losing money is because I avoided the dip by, at 85 cents or the dip by here at 65 cents because there was no wall of buyers to support me just below. When it got down to 50 cents a share, that was when the wall of buyers appeared on level 2. That's what made me feel safe and made me want to dip buy. And that's why, I just made a little over 20% on DRNG. Didn't time it perfectly, but I locked in my gains. I protected myself because I know how bad of a company it is. So I want you focusing on these patterns, but I also want you to recognize walls of buyers, walls of sellers. They'll help you get better entries and exits. You can start to, dip buy near support. And again, no wall means 100% of the time that the wall of buyers is going to hold up. A wall of buyers can easily get chipped through. But then you just follow rule number 1 and you cut losses quickly. CAMT, I would have loved for it to get above 565, but it didn't. So I accepted it and I cut my gains quickly. I'm always willing to exit a trade if it doesn't do exactly what I want. That's what I want to teach you, okay? These stocks are so volatile. You can't just sit around and wait and hope. Hope is not a strategy. And I know too many of you, I saw this, some guy not in my chat room, someone who's like, oh, Tim, I don't want to watch your video lessons. I'm just going to trade. And he tweeted me and he was saying, I think he DM'd me or something. And I get messages from all different areas I don't even know anymore. But this guy messaged me saying, he got basically lazy and he got stubborn because he was trying to dip by this here at 80 cents and, he didn't study enough. He didn't see where the potential dip was. He didn't cut losses quickly and he was in at 80 cents. And I think what was it? Was he out at like 55 or 60? I don't know. He lost like 20 or 30% because he was stubborn, because he didn't study. So I don't want you making that mistake. Study the past. Go through my 4,000 video lessons. It's just 400 hours of work, okay? And it's good work. It's good for you. I'm like a parent trying to get you to eat your vegetables. By studying the past, you'll start to see these patterns more. You'll start to understand the walls of buyers and the walls of sellers, and you'll have better odds on every play. You know, I know that it looks funny for like a multi-millionaire to be talking about like $300 and $600 gains, but this is how I've made my millions, okay? A few $100s, a few $1,000s at a time. DRNG was a perfect trade. I just had a small position. CAMT, the stock didn't do what I wanted, so it's a scratch. But either way, they're two good trades, they're two good lessons, and it adds to my portfolio. So if you can add to your portfolio and learn a good lesson, that's a win-win. Sometimes you have to lose to add some knowledge to your, mind. But if you get better and you refine and you treat this game like something where you're like a scientist, you're always trying to optimize. You're always trying to get better, trade after trade, week after week, month after month, year after year. And in, maybe the first week and the first month and the first 3 or 6 months, it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of tough. A lot of the stocks won't do what you want, but you need to learn to practice good habits. I know that many of you guys get discouraged if you lose like 20 bucks or 50 bucks on a trade, and then you have all your friends and family being like, oh, penny stocks, it's all a scam. Oh, it's a wolf of Wall Street. And I understand that discouragement. Don't let it but get to you, okay? The beautiful thing is that these patterns are real. I'm real. And if you study the past, you will see these patterns more and more. And if you do lose, which most traders do, simply cut losses quickly. I cannot tell you enough to just cut losses when you're wrong, okay? It's okay to be wrong, but I don't want you to let a small mistake turn into a potentially big disaster by being stubborn, like that guy, I don't even know his name, who was trying to dip buy this thing in the 80s. And obviously it kept crashing. He wasn't in my chat room. He hasn't studied the past lessons. He wasn't prepared. And then he lost 20 or 30%. So if you buy these stocks and if you trade these stocks in the wrong way without preparation, guess what? This stock is down 55% on the day. This is why people hate penny stocks. Not because they're bad, not because they're evil, but because people are lazy and unprepared. And I don't want you to hate penny stocks. I don't want you to be lazy. I don't want you to be unprepared. So in every video lesson, I have to remind you that I have over 4,000 video lessons, not to mention DVDs and challenge webinars. Let me pull up a link for 1 second. You challenge students have access to thousands of webinars. Specifically, I'm bringing up Tim Grattani, my top student, turned 1,500 now into 4.4 or 4.5 million in 5 years. He's given dozens of webinars. And look at this. They only have a few hundred views. Okay? Go and watch this. Most of his, webinars are with live trading. So you'll get to see exactly the walls of buyers and the walls of sellers and how he trades. And then I also have, tons of webinars. There's so many freaking study tools. You just have to go through it. And that way you get better prepared. This is not an exact science. But there are warning signs as to when you should be entering and when you should be exiting a stock. And if you study enough, if you learn from the past, you are better prepared for the present and you get wealthy in the future. That is how this all works. And I know this because I have more millionaire students than anybody. I'm not trying to sound like a dick. I'm just trying to be real because I see what works. I have the blueprint. I want you to follow it. I want more millionaire students. You hear me, I'm still stuffed up because I'm working too hard. I don't have enough millionaire students helping me teach. All my millionaire students help me teach, and upcoming millionaire students like Mark Crook, okay? I want more of you guys to be successful. Then you can help me teach, then I can get more time off and not be so sick anymore. I'm really doing this all because I'm selfishly don't want to be sick. I don't know, I'm just kidding. Anyways, DRNG, good dip buy for the morning. Do not hold it overnight. Do not think of this as like a great long-term investment. It's simply a morning dip buy. CAMT actually is coming back a little bit now. This one I might rebuy but I don't like that it had that top at 560 and 565. It's going to have to break this level to get me back in. Thank you. And again, if you understand the lessons in this video, leave a comment just below saying, I understand. And I appreciate it because I want to see you guys getting these patterns.